Okay, good. How you doing?
I'm good. I'm good now that you're here.
What in the world?
How are you?
Well, it's funny timing wise. I was just about almost a minute late to you because guy was calling me about doing a mural up here on downtown.
Mm,
They got the whole short north boarded up, and
mm.
guy's got a small business up there. And he's like, can we put something on the wall? So we're trying to figure that out.
Cool. We gonna get into that. I'm not gonna hold you too long. 30, 35 minutes.
All right.
Yeah.
Good to see you.
Huh?
It's good to see you.
Same. I always mean to call you when I'm in Columbus, and I always feel bad when we don't connect and talk. So I'm glad to catch up with you. And I've been watching you for a long time. We got a chance to connect a couple times to Creative South.
Right.
One thing I want to ask you, starting off, was you really struck by lightning as a kid?
Yeah, it's a true story. Here, okay, quick version. It's not like some kind of outrageous story. I was just in an open field with a couple of childhood buddies,
Yeah.
and you've been there. You know something's coming in the distance, and so again, big open field, which they always say never be in a big open field when a lightning storm, thunderstorm's coming. And I learned pretty late in life, like just a handful of years ago, that lightning can arc like this over across a landscape. I didn't know that. Anyway, we think that's what happened because all I can tell you is I'm standing in this field. My two buddies are a decent distance away, like 30, 40 feet. And next thing you know, there was a flash, and I don't even remember the bang, and I just woke up. That's it. And when I woke up, my buddy was kind of standing over me, looking down at me like, what, And I remember looking up at him from the ground, and I said something like, I think I'm going to go home. And he nodded, and I got on my little banana seat bike, and I rode to the house, which was about not even a mile away. And the interesting thing was there weren't any burn marks or anything like that, but I couldn't stay awake the rest of the day. I was just exhausted. I had to sleep. And so the next morning I woke up, I felt all right. So, we nobody knows because they didn't see anything. I mean, they saw the flash too, but they didn't see the arc come and hit me. So we don't know if it hit me or if it hit close enough to me that it knocked me unconscious. But either way, knocked me out. It was that close. So anyway, yeah, that's the story. It's not terribly exciting, but
I like it because it's like your logo. So what's the connection between you adding it to your logo because it's part of your story? Yeah, tell me about that.
That's you nailed it. That's there's two things behind the logo. One is the story about getting struck by lightning because it's a weird little story, and stories are great, always will be, even if they're not super crazy stories, but it's still a story. And then the second thing is it's about creative energy, and hopefully I can bring that to clients, to projects.
Awesome, love it. So just give me you're doing illustrations, you're doing workshops, you're doing murals. You're drawing on $250,000 Bentleys at conferences. You kind of get into this. Can you give me a little quick preview on just? It seems like you're doing a lot of lettering. You got characters are awesome. Give me just your backstory on how you started off. Was you always a creative kid, and how did you get to getting the momentum that you got to now with having coffee with Chris Doe and just paint me a picture on how did you get up to this level?
Well, if I only had 30 seconds, I'd tell you it's just a series of blessings that I don't deserve. And I'm not trying to be like, whatever they call it, like, false humble or all that crap. I'm serious, man. I mean, I was given the ability to draw, and I was given by grace some people around me that encouraged me to keep going. And that's why I'm so glad to talk to you, and I love following you because I was thinking about the fact we were going to talk today, and I want to say this to you before I forget is that you really are doing the Lord's work, and that sounds like a dumb cliche. I don't mean it like that. I mean what I say. I think about that verse that says, "Raise a child in the way they should go."
Right.
And they may not be your kids directly, but the fact is you're there as a mentor doing things telling them things they need to hear. And I love listening to those things, those clips that you share, because, you know, it's what I love is that it's not always, hey, you're great, everything's great, it's going to be great. You give them straight direction, and sometimes that's hard, you know, hard truth.
Right.
And you know, the other thing is that you and I are getting any younger in this game, and I think you and I both see a lot of designers around us that have been fed that constant praise all their life with nobody strong enough to say, hey, you know what, this thing's not great. Here's how to make it better, and here's why it'll be better if you make those edits, or if you think about this in a different way, blah, 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 right?
Yeah.
So you get a lot of designers out there that are, to be honest, they're kind of like, they're snowflakes. And and that doesn't make a better designer, you know. So I love what you do.
Thank you.
So
let me say something. Let me say something that's kind of interesting. So I was on a call with AGIA, and we were doing some virtual portfolio reviews. Okay. So, and what's so crazy about the reviews of the work that I was seeing, I looked at probably 3 or 4 portfolios. And to my amazement, the portfolios still look like the same portfolios that I was doing in '97. And I couldn't believe that professors are still got people designing, let's just say cover letters for Montessori schools. Like, how practical are we going to be designing cover letters for Montessori schools? When I clearly had a girl who loved drawing cats and loved doing illustrations, and none of this stuff was in her portfolio. And I'm asking her, well, where is this stuff at? Where's your real stuff at? Can you give me some insight on your thoughts on that? Or have you seen anything like this? On why haven't we evolved since then?
Well, I think, again, a quickish answer is, having taught college for a couple of years just to see what it was like, I think we have people in institutions that have never really worked out there in the business. And I think, that's my opinion anyway, that's part of the reason why you get teachers that say, well, let's do this thing. And they've been doing that thing for 30 years or 20 years or whatever. And I hear you, that doesn't help anybody grow. Cover letter for a school like that, what? It's dumb. And I think I hear what you're saying too, is that you've got a student there who you see a particular leaning for them that is maybe even a talent for them, not just something they like to draw, but they're drawing pretty well. And you're encouraging that. And it's a tricky answer, you know, because I don't want to just be like, well, colleges suck.
No, right.
Even though I love what guys like Chris Do are doing with the future. I think that's awesome. I think it's the future of education for a lot of people in a really great way. But I think it's a balance of some type of true, genuine encouragement, objective encouragement and direction for a kid like you're talking about. I see this thing in you. I want you to do some more of that because I see the value of that. And that's going to keep them motivated because that positive feedback. On the other hand, the balance to me is we do have, as commercial designers, if that's where that kid, you know, thinks they may want to go, we have to take on problems that we may look at and scratch our heads and go, well, that's a stupid idea. And the last thing I want to do is a cover letter from Montessori school. However, that's a design challenge, right? So that's part of the exercise that we have to do as designers. Right. And I think it has a lot of value. So somewhere in there's a balance between those two things that ideally helps us move forward as problem solvers and as people who bring their own particular blessing and passion and gift into that equation. And so a lot of people look at like this stuff back here on the wall that I have here in my studio. And dude, this is just me drawing. This is just me. This is the joy of drawing for me. No. And so what I'm trying to say is, it just so happens, to go back to your original question, that I've been drawing since I've been a little boy. And like I said, I had people around me that said, good, keep drawing in some way. And that keeps you moving. And I think about how important it is to encourage people, especially if you don't know them, or if you know them, whatever, and say, hey man, I see that thing that you're doing. Please, do more of that. That's awesome. Whatever the encouragement needs to be for that person. So, again, trying to answer your original question. Sorry, I'm babbling.
That's okay. That's all right. That's all right. we're just gonna go organic, like whatever.
Okay. So the fact is I've been drawing since I've been a little kid, had that encouragement. And because I keep doing it and doing it and doing it and practicing and refining that skill, even when it was just tracing other people's stuff back in the day, because I think there's value in that. Tracing
Right.
letters, tracing that muscle memory stuff is important. All that stuff has come forward now. And now I'm getting to be an old guy in the business, and people still hire me, and they hire me and they go, hey, we want you to do this thing, and we want it to kind of feel like your stuff. And believe it or not, I still get confused about that, because I think, what do you mean like my stuff? I want to draw something that solves your problem. But they go, no, we like that kind of SoCal, surfer skate kind of weird blend of things that you do with type. And I go, okay. And there we have it. That's a career. Here I am.
That's one thing that kind of came late to me, is having your own style, starting off as a designer. Another thing that happened to me is that I kind of lost my way chasing corporate and chasing the business, and I kind of stopped drawing, and I kind of stopped because I was doing two things. Because when I was coming up, it was the 90s culture, and I was heavily influenced by that. So that would be Wu-Tang and all of the 90s stuff, Ice Cube and all of this stuff. And then I was doing my schoolwork, and I was trying to mix the two. But after I started trying to work my way up corporate ladder, I kind of lost a lot of my creativeness. Being in corporate with branding guidelines, and it needs to look like this, and I kind of lost my way some.
I did too. That's why I started this little shop, almost 5 years ago. It'll be 5 years in September.
Cool.
Because I was working corporate, making great money, and I worked with a lot of good people. I really did. I'm really blessed that way. But the big but is there is a result and a consequence of working in that kind of a committee-driven design solution, like you're talking about. Dude, at the end of the day, man, you get to the point that to the end of the day, end of the week, the month, and then 10 plus years go by, and you go, okay, I don't even like doing this anymore.
Yeah. At what point did it kind of click for you that this is like just bigger than me just drawing? Like this is like you said, like a lot of what's going on in the currently with protesting, COVID-19, just schools and all these social issues. Like it's like our obligation is like bigger than us just really drawing some images. Like it's really making a statement and really making some type of change with our skill sets. You want to touch on that?
Yeah, well, I think about it this way, that it's a really exciting time for two types of people. For guys like us that have been doing this a while, and we've been honing our chops, and we can jump into a wall real fast. We don't have to think a lot about it because we've been doing this for so long. Doesn't mean we don't bring our minds to it, but we can move swiftly. And right now, the guy I was just about to talk to before we got on the phone here, I'm dying to do that work, man, because I'm built for it.
Yeah.
The other group that I think has a really exciting opportunity are people who've never done that kind of thing before. And there are walls out there right now that need voices on them. And there are so many walls out there. Down here in the short north and downtown, there's so many plywood boarded up businesses that folks that never had an opportunity to do a mural before. Well, guess what, dude? There's 300 businesses down there, if I'm just putting a number on it, that you could approach and go, man, I want to put something positive on your wall. Man, paint a rainbow. I don't care, but here's your chance. So what a great time.
Yeah. Can you talk about a little bit about your process? I know, is it safe to say that you jumped on Procreate and got the iPad Pro and the pencil early in the game?
Yeah, I did. I got, again, man, blessings I don't deserve. My buddy Jeremy Slagle invited me to this. We were out at Adobe Max, and we got into that first launch room. Apple first presented it, and so there's a video out on YouTube of me threatening to steal that thing, and it's kind of like, ha ha ha, I think I'm going to steal this, but dude, seriously, internally, I was like, I really would like to just pull one of these out of the room right now because it was that cool of a device. So yeah, I got in early on that, and that was helpful because I'm such an analog guy. I got here, Post-it notes galore all over the place.
Right.
That's how I operate.
Right.
And, so to go to something digital like that was really helpful, just because efficiency. is such a cool thing with the Procreate and iPad Pro.
I think it's important for technology too, because technology is moving so fast, and we got this huge divide in technology that is like so crazy. Like I'm trying to speed kids up right now, and even with COVID, I had challenges with the schools because they can't keep track of the kids. So I'm in the midst of programs, and I can't continue to, so I push heavy on technology and understanding this, and really, really talk about how important it is to learn these tools such as Procreate, things like that. Can you talk about how where you get your inspiration from? Let's talk about that.
A lot of places, and sadly right now, one of my main inspiration sources is travel, and I'm not doing much of it because everything's so shut down.
Can you talk about some of the stuff that you was doing? I see you was in Asia, you was in Cambodia, and you was doing some work. Can you talk about the work you was doing with there?
Yeah, that's a group called Asia's Hope. It's based here in Columbus. A guy named John McCollum runs it, and the quickest version I can tell you about that is what makes them different is that they do family style orphan care obviously for kids that need it. I mean, orphans are orphans, worldwide. There's a similar story there, even though the conditions are different. But that's the unique part versus an institution. For example, an institutionalized orphanage, this is what I'm learning because I'm ignorant of all of it, is, there's a central kitchen where all the kids come and eat. Versus John's organization, they build a kitchen onto a single house, and they do a smaller scale family style. So like the kids have their own kitchen, their own bedrooms. It's not like a big bunker room, with 100 kids in it. So there's this real family style thing going on there. John's been doing this for about 15 years. The other thing that makes him very unique, not exclusive, but is important for him is Indigenous leadership for these kids, whether it's Cambodia or India or Thailand, where he's got dozens of homes built over the last many years. So when you walk into these places, there's no white people there. It's all, the what they call dad and mom are from the local area. They're Thai or they're Cambodian, and all of the staff are all either Thai or Cambodian. They know these kids' culture, period. I mean, that's the simplest way to describe it. But so when we went there, we were over there for about a month. To be honest, man, it's awkward to be there. As there was two things. One is it's awkward to be there because I'm this white guy stepping into this community where I don't belong. Mm-hmm. What was also awkward is that these kids they're happy, and they run to you like, because they have some sense of when white guys like me step onto the campus, they know where we're from. The mom and dad know we're coming. Everything is very scheduled. You're not allowed to just roll around there. It's and for good security reasons, for all kinds of healthy reasons. So they know you're coming, and so and so on one hand, I mean, it's awkward because they're like, oh, like these kids love you all of a sudden, this stranger. But what's more interesting to me is that as we were there many times at these different campuses, the reality is the kids come and greet you, hey, Poppy, or whatever they call you, and then they run off. They go run off. And then you get to sit there and just watch them be kids. The point I'm trying to make is they don't put on a show for you. They're just themselves, and they're happy in this place because they're safe and they're cared for. So I'm giving you a long answer to what that was all about. But from a design standpoint, I was over there as a photography assistant to John.
Okay.
That was the job for a month to try to keep up with him, which is very hard, and then take thousands and thousands of photos. But coming out of that trip, dude, there's so much inspiration, color and texture and light and the food and man, literally halfway around the world. What a blessing. It was good.
Yeah. Does a lot for you. I see you doing some other stuff too. Like I'm a cyclist too. I see.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. I ride a lot, but I got like a hybrid. I got what I got? I can't think of what I have right now, but I ride probably like 30 miles. I ride like once a week. So I love it, man. So it's helped my creativity a lot. It gets me out. Like I got my GoPro on there, so I was loving to see you do your thing too. I see you was doing some running too, some running too.
Yeah, I try to stay healthy. I
Yeah,
think that's so important as a person, let alone a designer.
right.
But dude, like you said, I got my bike is my second source of inspiration. If I can't
Yeah.
travel, just get me on my
Tell me about
bike.
it.
That's all I need, man.
I've been riding for 2 years, so I know like sometimes if I don't get it in, I'll grab my bike at midnight and just ride around a little bit. Like I love it. Like I gotta have my bike. So it's awesome.
Same here. I've been doing night rides for a long time. I haven't done them a lot lately. I don't, you know
What
why?
kind of
Because I'm
bike you
getting
got?
older.
What kind of bike you
Huh?
got? What kind of bike you
I got, well, the one I just put on Instagram. Here, I'll tell you what. I'll pop that up quick.
Yeah, I got a Fuji. But you know, I'm kind of still. I don't have like click-in pedals and all that stuff.
It doesn't matter as long as you're out there riding. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right?
I did want to step it up though. You know, get something faster, man.
Oh, okay. I can't share screen. That's all right. I got this funky little bike that I did on trade for a logo for my buddy who does these custom bikes. Little 20-inch wheels. It's silly looking. Like probably a lot of people, cynics, look at it and think it looks like a little clown bike, but I don't care. I like it. It's not something you'd ride. I've ridden it for 30 some miles at a time, but that's about its limit. It's those little wheels get kind of tiresome.
Yeah.
Long distance, but as a city bike, it's fun.
Awesome. Love it, man. Love it.
Yeah. And like you said, that's the whole point, right? It doesn't matter what you ride as long as you're out there just in your space, just open and your mind's working right. I love being on a bike for that reason.
Yeah. It's much needed. Can you talk about some of the projects you've been working on lately? Has anything changed since COVID as far as like your business and stuff?
Not a whole lot for me.
Do you have like
not a ton's changed?
I'm sorry. I
ahead.
was cutting you off. Say it again.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was kind of cutting you off. I saw you was doing some lettering. Are you doing a lot of like consulting work? Do you have some products and stuff? Or are you doing? I know you was doing some keynotes, so I know some of that may have changed, traveling and stuff. So can you just tell me, like, since COVID, how, if anything has changed, what has changed, and you know what it's doing for you now?
The big change on a negative note is that it's shut down the mural business because I'm typically doing a lot of indoor stuff for companies. So that has flat out shut down. I've got probably 4 or 5 proposals that are just sitting there collecting dust because nobody's moving on them. The second thing that's happened is I've gotten, thankfully, back to doing more identity work. So I just finished a batch of work for a company here called Rhyme Time Pops, RIME, and a guy named Cody Miller, really nice guy, a lot of fun. We just finished, I put it on, it's on my Instagram. There's a picture of the truck that we just got done.
I think I saw that.
Yeah, so that was really fun to work on. And I'll roll some of that extra workout on Instagram probably this week or next week. So that's going on. I'm doing a identity for a very different business, a guy who does e-commerce. And actually, I probably need to post that sometime soon. So short answer, going back to doing some of this identity stuff where I'm making a logo and then saying, how are we going to apply the logo? Is it going to be on a truck, a website, both, whatever?
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more in depth about that process? Like kind of touch on like, you know, as far as like if I was a young designer and, you know, I think it's a lot, clients really don't understand. They think logos, I don't know. They think it's just like you can click your fingers and you can do a logo. Can you talk about the process, pricing, how you changed your pricing? I know you started probably low like everybody else and raised your prices. Can you talk some about that?
Yeah. The main thing.
Can you talk about the pricing and can you talk about what you show? Like how many versions you show? You show the process. Like, is this a new relationship versus a relationship that they kind of know about you and they know about your style? It's kind of easier to do because they know about your style versus somebody say, hey, I know you do design. Can you do a logo for me? Type of thing.
Yeah. So the first thing I do is I'll ask, at least after that initial engagement, is I'll ask somebody, one of the first questions is, what's your budget for this project? And what I say within that same question is, and I share this with you, that you would share it, that everybody would steal it because it's really worked well for me. And I'm, to be honest, I'm stealing some form of this from somebody else, Chris Doe and a few other people I've heard along the way. So I'm not trying to say this is an original thought. But what I'll say is, tell me what your budget is for this project, and then I'll say immediately after that, before I let them answer, whether it's in person or if I'll do this in an email or a phone call, I'll say, the reason I'm asking how much you have for a budget is not because when you tell me $5,000, I'm going to send you an invoice or a proposal for $4,999. The reason I'm asking is I want to understand how you value this particular part of your business. So that's a very important question. The second layer there is I do have a minimum engagement now, and that's just a function of having done this for a long time. So my minimum engagement for any type of identity work is $5,000, and I don't mind saying that and being transparent. For me, $5,000 in engagement's going to be a smaller, faster type of an object. You know, probably just a very simple logo that may not require a lot of time in terms of concept. It might just be something a lot kind of concept light. So that's a really fast overview of how I'll set up and start to talk about pricing.
Let me ask you this, like, so what do they want to see? Like, a lot of people, like, are you turning away a lot of work? For one, and number two, what do they want to see? Are you seeing different versions? Are they seeing sketches? Or they just coming because they know your reputation? And, you know, is that what it's based on? If that makes sense.
Yeah,
Well, just tell me what do they want to see? Like, what are you just giving them a finished product, or they want to see steps or sketches evolved, or they just look through your portfolio and that's enough?
It depends, and I'm not trying to be vague. I'll try to explain that quickly.
Okay.
It depends on the client. Like, there are some clients who, again, I don't want to babble on too long about this, but you know, there's some clients that they're familiar with the business and the process of this kind of thing. You know, you can move pretty fast past, kind of even past the rough sketches and go, and I'll get back to this in a second, but here's the idea, and then let me, you know, start to bang this out. There's some things, you know, you can jump into Illustrator and start knocking that thing out. You know, in other words, I don't have to show somebody a rough pencil sketch, even though part of my sell is everything I do is handcrafted. Everything. I don't take stock stuff for anything.
That's
but
important.
yeah, so sometimes we can move around the pencil sketch look, even if that pencil sketch is in Procreate, and we can get right into some Illustrator type stuff. And that's what I'm doing for this guy currently that I mentioned earlier, the e-commerce guy. So that's, I think, one part of your question. The second thing, actually the most important thing to me after we talk about price, and I've got this person in proposal mode or past, we're actually in the project. No matter what I'm doing, dude, whether it's a mural, logo, whatever it is, I can't say this enough. I could repeat it 5 times in the next 5 minutes. An idea has got to drive what we do. I'm so frustrated still after all these years of seeing designers make things that look pretty that have no concept behind them. I'm also frustrated by an education system that says, okay, let's, you know, present, you know, let's do some concepts. And schools teach kids to say, these are my concepts. What we don't teach them properly is to just realize the basics, that when you say the word concept, that means idea. That means there needs to be a literal idea baked into that thing that you're designing, if you're going to call it a concept. And if there's no idea there, then don't call it a concept. I know it sounds kind of dumb and like I'm just this old guy ranting about it. And I kind of am, but I'm just concerned that we have baked that into kids thinking like, here's my concepts. And I'm like, okay, there's no concept here. It's a nice design. It's a really nice design that hits on all the tenets of good design. You know, color, volume, contrast, pick the list. You got it, but there's no idea there. So what I'm trying to say somewhat nicely is sometimes there's a place for us to just design things well. You know, here's an example, a chair. I think product design, there are beautiful products out there that aren't necessarily a concept. They're just beautiful designs. But when we're talking about things like logos, especially, for me, I just don't want to work with a client that says, I'm not worried about the big idea. Just, you know, make a letter G and that's it. That's not my person, you know? Yeah. So that's a kind of a long answer to that. But that idea thing, dude, is so critical to me. I don't function without it anymore.
Yeah. Just to go back to the portfolio reviews, that's what was missing with everything I saw. I
Mm.
didn't see any concepts. I just saw finished products. And I was telling them like, back when I was coming up, that was kind of practical. But now that we have Fiverr, we got all of these templates, we got Canva, we got all of this stuff that I can just click my fingers and have a design. Like, we need to see that. So I was really trying to bang that home with them.
Yeah. So one of the ways that I'll do portfolio reviews is I'll say, tell me the idea behind this. Like to your point, if I see something that's totally finished, I'll
Yeah.
say, tell me how you got here. What was the thinking process? And what's the idea behind this? And sometimes it's embarrassing. I'm not trying to shame the kid or embarrass them, but they'll say, well, I don't know what the idea is. I just made this thing. Okay. And again, I don't want to make them feel bad because so many of them have just not been coached and mentored and encouraged to think past just, well, make something look good.
Let's just say you was hiring somebody. What would you want to see? What's the most important thing you want to see? Do you want
sketches,
to
man? I want to see how you think.
Yeah.
It goes back to what you're saying, dude. I want to see how you think. Show me your sketchbook. I've back in the day when I was hiring and firing people, a lot more hiring than firing, but there were a couple people that I hired just based on their sketchbook. Their finished work was good, it was quality, but it didn't show me how they thought. And then I looked at the sketchbook and I was like, that's it, we're done. This guy's in, this gal's in,
That's important.
Yeah, still is. And if people, kids are hearing this like, well, that's true for you, gray hair, back in the day. It's still true.
Right. Tell me something else like that you're looking forward to doing. Anything new? Tell me about the lettering. Are you selling any like custom brushes and lettering or anything like that?
Oh man, I'm trying to get this font done. I teased that out, golly, like 3 months ago or something, and I still can't get it done. The reason is to be honest, work slowed down a bit, and right now it's about keeping the lights on with some client-based projects.
Yeah.
So I haven't, to be fair, somewhat kind to myself, I haven't just made the time to wrap up some of those characters in that typeface, but it's about 90% done.
Got you. Let me ask you this: the last recession, did you make any adjustments from that point to get to being a little bit more prepared this time?
No, and here's why. Because back then, in the last one, I was working for big corporate, and I was in a bubble, and too stupid to think past it. Honestly, I'm just being serious and straight.
Yeah.
I look back in those days, man, and I think again, I learned a lot. I worked with great people. Did some pretty good work once in a while, but I'd rather. Oh, man, it's hard to say this. I'd rather be where I am now, a little hungry. As hard as that could be some days, I'll take this over working for big corporate in that bubble.
I hear you. Can you talk about relationship building and like building up relationships and how important that is? I know we talk about that and we always knew that was important, networking, but can you tell me some of the stuff that you was doing? Was it just conferences? Was it doing art, going to art shows? Was it, can you talk about that some?
Yeah, I think there's maybe two things that I've tried to do, and I'm always trying to get better at those over the years in terms of building relationships. One is, like I mentioned up front in the call, one of them is just trying to encourage people. And one of the ways that, and related to that, and one of the ways I think that works well, or you're able to do it well or do it better, is just trying to be a better listener, which, you're doing all the listening today. I'm talking on, babbling on a lot, but in a relationship that's going to have any meaning and value, especially when you're trying to help a client solve a problem, whether they're your client now or your client later, is just keep asking questions and genuinely, earnestly, honestly say, okay, I hear you say this, that's cool, but what got you there? Or why did you guys do this? Or, and again, all around the idea of how can I help you? How can I serve you? And that's really the third layer of it. So it's encouraging people, which again comes by listening most of the time. And then ultimately there's this act of service. I am a servant to my clients. That's the way this is going to work best. Yes, I bring tons of experience to the table. That's a given because I've been doing this for so long. But if I come into it like, oh, Lord Dylan is here to, bestow his, man, nobody wants to deal with that kind of an a-hole,
Right.
So if I come to it like, how, literally like, how can I serve you? Then that's going to be a better relationship.
Awesome. Love it. How can we find you?
Well, until I get off my butt and get my website revamped, the best place to look for me is on Instagram at Menges Design, Menges Design. And like I said, someday I will get this website redone. Man, there's nothing worse than a tired old website, and that is mine right now.
I know. It's the struggle of a designer. I'm trying to revamp some stuff too. Like all my stuff is virtual. I'm teaching 99% of the time, so I'm kind of teaching online now and trying to work in my stuff too. So it's just like difficult for everybody at this point. So
I got one question for you too. I wanted to ask you before we quit.
Go ahead.
I was going to just ask you what you had for breakfast, but the bigger question is, because I know we're about the same age.
Right.
I think you should write a book called something like The Fountain of Youth, by Jamal.
Right. I turned 50 on the 30th.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I think the riding the bike is one of them. I haven't smoked and I haven't had a drink in probably 20 years too. I think that helps. I think just being a designer too, working with youth, being on that bicycle, it just keeps me young. It gets me back in that space. And remember I talked about, I always kind of talk about in my keynotes of when I was really an artist and really wasn't worried about title, status, money, and all of that stuff. I just love Marvel comics and all of that stuff and magazines and stuff like that. So I think like just being young and getting back to almost like that analytical side, mixing the two, I think that's really a part of it, and understanding like my purpose and my missions. Like, it's bigger. Like we just got a big responsibility just to help drive people to, letting them know that we cool.
Well, you got that covered. I think you're going to live to be some wise old wizard. You could be like Wizard Collins, be like 130 years old, have this beard down to your knees,
right,
in the robe.
Right. All right. It was good seeing you, friend. Next time I come to Columbus, I'm gonna make sure I call you.
Please do, and same for Cleveland, man. My wife and I get up there once or twice a year, maybe more. We always do West Side Market and then whatever from there. So
yeah,
I'd love to see you.
Yeah, same, brother. Appreciate you.
You too.
If you need anything, just let me know. I'm gonna post this soon. So
okay.
Thank you.
You too. Thanks. Keep doing what you do. I love it.
Same, brother.
All right.
Yep.
See you.